It's a fairly simple and decent looking house. Anna, I'll start with you. What is your take on the exteriors?
I think this house has a very good view from the road. It is, and if you notice from the gate itself, the whole house you can see at one shot. And you see there's a lot of play of pergolas on every side, on every level. I'm sure with the sun, there'll be a play of lights. That must be the most beautiful thing about this house, that play of lights, the shadows there. Landscape is absent right now. They have a huge area in front of the house that once a landscape comes would be an added ornament to the whole house. We see a lot of paved area, and it would be giving ample space for parking of lots of cars in case of a function or something. The only color that you see is a dark wood color for the windows, and also certain pergolas they've colored it brown. And they have a good main door, and there's a small court near the sit out. Once that area is also, they do something in that, bring in a little bit of greenery, that will be nice once you're sitting in the sit out area.
Arun?
I think they've tried a very simple approach to a contemporary home, though they have pulled themselves back in the kind of design of the windows and things like that, because they are not that huge and they don't let in so much light comparing to the massive height of the house. It's got a good frontage, nice driveway, like what you were saying. There will be enough space to park cars even for a small function. Landscape is almost not present right now. It might come up in the near future, and it will give some kind of privacy to the house as well as a shade to the front area. I don't think there is any special style also attached to the whole house. They have tried to do a mix of a straight line thing.
It's more of a contemporary house with Kerala elements. They've tried to bring in.
I think the Kerala elements is what it's pulling back the whole house. They should have left that behind and then gone ahead with a little modern approach. It's a very decent approach, or decent try to do a straight line house.
Okay. So coming down to the interiors.
Interiors are slightly better than the exterior, that's what I would say. I would not agree to the kind of sofas that have been selected in the ground floor. It looks very bulky. Something more slender, sleeker looking should be better in that space, because it kind of spreads. It's a very low kind of flat looking sofa, which is very bulky, kind of spreads through the whole floor area. So I think something sleeker would have looked better. They have a different looking dining table. It's a slightly bigger table than expected. They have an 8-seater table. Kitchen looks very neat, and there's a small breakfast space in a slightly taller room. I think the room height is a little tall than the usual. That's something to be noted. That gives you a little more space for the air to move around, and the heat is also considerably less. And then there's a neat wash area that's tucked in below the staircase, and the staircase railing also is done neatly. It's not a very commonly seen pattern. They have a huge chandelier that is hanging through the staircase. It's a very neat item, and they've tried something different in the bedrooms. The master bed and all other beds have a kind of frame that on the wall which behaves like the headboard, and the bed kind of seats inside. They have tried a very simple, decent approach for the interiors, and it kind of fares well.
What's your take, Anna?
You enter through the main door and you have the living room. I think the first sight is you get a view of the pantry. That is something that they could have changed. But the living room, they've detailed it out in a very simple way, not too many fancy stuff, just very simple things. One thing I really liked about, we have kids, and there are a lot of trophies we get as they progress through their schools, and it is important to us, but it needn't be very beautiful to look at, but it's a matter of sentiments, and they've used a corridor space to neatly display all that. It's not for anybody else, it's for them to, so it is in a locked position, it is in a place where it's important to them and not for the others. So that's a very neat thing they've done, and I love the powder room tiles that they've picked up. It's a subtle color of grey. Nothing looks gaudy, nothing looks out of place, though the curtains are simple, and and I love the chandelier. That's usually many people have this habit of hanging a chandelier in the middle of the living room, but they've put it in a place where it doesn't hinder anybody, and as you climb up the stairs, I'm sure it's a treat to see that play of lights through the crystals. So, yeah.
Okay.
There's one more interesting space. There's a small jali in the living area where you see it becomes part of the wall.
Yeah.
It actually is a partition where you pass through to the bed spaces.
Yeah.
So both sides look interesting, and on the side where they have the cladding, on the other side they have tucked in a neat shelf. So that's an interesting move.
And also the living spaces. The public spaces are on one side and the private spaces are to the other. If you notice, the living, dining and the kitchen are on one end, and towards the other side they have the family and the bedrooms. So in terms of planning, it is good, like keeping the public and the private spaces separate. So that's also something very interesting.